This whole thing, from Weinstein to all what's happening in Hollywood, is about an abuse of power. On the people who've been assaulted, abused, the kids, the women, it's so many casualties here that I stand for every last one of them, and I cannot back down. I will never back down. And let me tell you, the people I'm going against are very big, very powerful, but the whole thing is David versus Goliath. And guess who won that one? And he looked me in my eyes and he was sticking his tongue out and he's making weird noises overtly sexually to me. I mean, it was no mistake. And he takes his right hand and under mine and immediately squeezes, grabs my genitals.
Revealing this potentially embarrassing information about yourself, is this your atonement?
The problem was not God. The problem was not the Bible. The problem was not Jesus. It was people. Advertisers were coming to me about alcohol and gambling. I mean, casinos, all kinds of liquor. I was like, oh! Christians need to be out there. It's not enough to sit around and pray. It is good to pray. It's not enough. You got to pray like Moses, and you got to fight like Joshua. Because all of a sudden, if everybody sees my career drop off, everybody will know who did it.
This is a gut-wrenching, convicting, amazing story that can inspire everyone all across the world. Terry Crews is a well-known actor who has never and will never back down from his fight against the most vile aspects of Hollywood, while he simultaneously fights for his Christian faith to be a light in this dark industry. This is Make Faith Famous, and we're going to start with Terry's intense retelling of a creepy, almost demonic-sounding sexual assault experience he had just a few years ago, where he completely exposes the abuser by name. For some background, Terry's best known for his former NFL career and his acting roles in breakout series Everybody Hates Chris, action blockbuster series The Expendables, beloved character in the massively popular sitcom Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and the hilariously Wild Old Spice commercials from a few years back. But he's so much more than just an actor. He's an incredibly vocal advocate for Christ and against sexual abuse rings in Hollywood, as unfortunately a victim of it himself. He's a successfully recovered porn addict. He's been married for a whole 35 years. He truly is a different breed, and I can't wait for you to get to know him through this video. Again, this is Make Faith Famous, and let's get into it now. I was sexually assaulted by Adam Vinnett, who was the head of the motion picture department. Very, very powerful man who has access to studio heads. What they do affects every part of the business, from producers, writers, actors. They own finance companies, the whole thing.
And did you know him before the party?
And I did not know him. I heard of him. We had never, ever even had a conversation, okay? So I just heard, and actually, I was actually looking forward to meeting him.
But instead of a professional meet and greet, Crews claims Vinnett leered at him from across the room.
And he looked me in my eyes and he was sticking his tongue out overtly sexually to me. I mean, it was no mistake that this was a sexual type tongue move. And I'm thinking it's a joke. I'm thinking, is this how this guy breaks the ice? I don't understand what this is.
Confused, Crews said he reached out to shake his hand.
I reached my hand out and he takes his right hand and under mine and immediately squeezes, grabs my genitals and I'm jumping back like, hey, whoa. And he jumps back and he still does this tongue stuff and he's making weird noises and then he comes back again and grabs me again. And I slap his hand away, push him back more forcefully, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Adam! Also at the party, Crews says, was Adam Sandler, one of Vinnett's clients and Crews' co-star in the movie Blended.
I went immediately to Adam Sandler, and I'm like, Adam, come get your boy. Something's wrong with him.
Did Adam see any of this?
Well, first of all, Adam was talking to someone else. He looks over and he sees Vinnett giggling and laughing. And he's like, I said, dude, this dude, he grabbed my junk. And Adam's like, what? What are you?
Adam Sandler did not return our request for comment about the alleged incident last year.
Mike, I'm telling you, man, I know how close I came to losing it all. Just when you get emasculated like that. When I tell you, the way he looked at me, the way he giggled, it was one of those things where he was like, hey man, you know, no one's ever gonna believe you.
Do you think it was a way of him maybe exercising power?
It was. First of all, this whole thing, from Weinstein to all what's happening in Hollywood, is about an abuse of power, an abuse of the position you have. And what happens is they have fooled everyone into thinking it was part of the job. I get a call from my agent saying that Vinnett's gonna call you. I get a call, here it's him on the line. I'm sorry, I was drunk, I wasn't myself that night. And I said, hey man, you gotta understand the depth of what you did. In front of my wife, I said, man, you don't even know how close you got to really being hurt. And I said, you need some help. I said, you need to go get help. And he was like, yeah, okay.
Was it sincere? Did you feel like it was sincere?
No. It's like when people are sorry because they got caught.
Vinnett himself declined to comment.
Do you think this has hurt your career coming out?
I don't know. But this is what I have to say. I've learned a long time ago to always do the right thing. Honor is where you have to do it. You have to have honor. If I can't do it with honor, then what's the point? Because this is the deal. Weinstein's money ain't helping him now. Kevin Spacey's money's not helping him right now. That's the deal. It's all disappearing. If you have honor, that's something no one can take away from you.
What a mind-blowing story, right? I don't know about you, but I didn't know about any of this before making this video. But what do you think about this occurrence? It just makes me realize that if this stuff can happen to someone as rich, famous, and physically powerful as Terry Crews, how much worse can it be for lower status people, young people, kids, models, little girls? It's sickening. One thing that chilled me to my core while listening to that was, well, there were many things, from the tongue motions to the demonic sounds to Adam Sandler's refusal to comment. But one thing that really made me feel ill was how Terry interpreted the guy's boldness as something like, oh, there's nothing you can do. No one will ever believe you. What a horrible place to be. And one thing I really did appreciate was Terry's grace and his almost like positive outlook. He wants to tackle this with honor, with dignity, and he even told the abuser on the phone that he needs help instead of just like cursing him out and threatening him. This, to me, is true biblical grace. And in this next clip, you'll see how he tackles this, as he even testified before the U.S. Senate, telling this story. And as you'll see here in this brief clip, the web gets even more complex. The depths of depravity get even deeper and darker.
But has there been retaliation against you for what you are saying now to the public?
Thank you for your question, Senator. One specific incident of retaliation was I've done 3 movies called The Expendables with Sylvester Stallone. The producer of that film called my manager and asked him to drop my case in order for me to be in the 4th installment of the movie. And if I didn't, there would be trouble.
So you're going to be in the 4th installment, I hope?
No.
Wow.
I'm sorry, thank you for your question, Senator.
That's good, that's very
yes,
polite, thank you.
Yes. Simply because this same producer is under his own sexual assault investigation.
Yeah.
And, you know, abusers protect abusers. And this is one thing I had to decide whether I was going to draw the line on, am I going to be a part of this or am I going to take a stand? And there are projects I had to turn down.
And that's some amazing integrity right there. We all have a choice, and he's in a position and has a platform where he can speak out against these things and take a personal stand against them, and that's very honorable indeed. All right, so now let's pivot into Terry's bold Christian faith, okay? Because I don't know if he could really survive in this Hollywood environment genuinely without God, and he seems to know that too. And real quick, I just want to take this opportunity to say a sincere, heartfelt thank you for everyone still watching this video and supporting this channel's mission to make faith more and more famous around the world. If you're in a position where you feel moved to donate to this mission, please, and absolutely zero pressure, feel free to click the join button under this video and you can become a monthly channel member and get a few small perks. To be honest, I don't have much to offer other than my continued promise to work hard on these videos and continue to both expose Hollywood and shine a light on influential people promoting faith in Christ. If that's a movement you can get behind and you feel moved to support us here at Make Faith Famous, please consider clicking that join button below. God bless you. All right, next up, I want to highlight 2 additional major struggles Terry's faced, which all led him to fully embrace his faith. 1, his struggle with pornography for his entire adult life, and 2, his abusive relationship with his father.
I discovered a whole chest of pornography when I was 9 years old at my uncle's house while he was teaching me how to play flute, but he would leave and I'd wait to get picked up. And, he wasn't a Christian. He was just living his life. In fact, he lived most of his life high. So he would smoke and do all this stuff, but he had a bunch of pornography there. And man, I have to say, because of how early it came into my life, that it changed my wiring in a lot of ways. Because that's actually abusive. I mean, when you look at people who try to groom kids, whatever, the first thing they do is show them pornography. And the thing is that you can really change the makeup of someone's brain by seeing it too early. And the thing is that, and there's people who in the world who always say, hey man, pornography is cool as an adult and the whole thing. But I don't know anybody who ever encountered pornography as an adult. I don't know. I mean, every kid, you see it as a kid and it affects you immediately. And especially now, I mean, I look at what people see on their phones or whatever, but back then it was just magazines. And let me tell you, I was hooked. I was hooked. And then when cable came in and I found a way to jimmy the cable box so I could watch porn. And you got to understand, here I am, and I saw myself as this card-carrying Christian young man, but I could not get this thing out of my life. And I mean, I would pray to God, I'll never do it again. I'll never do it again. And man, I'll go right back. And that shame cycle is what I would like to call it, would just keep spinning, man, because you do it and you feel bad. And then in order to feel better, you do it again. And it doesn't stop. And the shame just keeps going. And then you just accept it. You just say, I'm just flawed. I'm just broken, messed up. And I'll be lucky to get into heaven because I can't stop this. Because for one, it was a secret. I was not telling anybody. No one would know. And I'll be honest, anybody in my world didn't even want to hear it if I wanted to talk about it. It was that kind of thing. Like, hey, man, look, you better not be doing that. I don't even want to hear it. So here I am, a young man. I married this beautiful Christian woman Rebecca, who I literally met in church. She was a music minister at our church in Kalamazoo. And here I think my pornography addiction is over. It's done. I have a real woman now. That's finished. Thank you, God. I'll take it from here. And then as soon as the argument happened, oh my God, I went right back. But it still was my secret. And it was my secret. I called it my dirty little secret for years and years and years. And through 20 years of our marriage, I actually went to a massage parlor and cheated on my wife. And I had been on a binge of watching porn and the whole thing. And I couldn't believe it was like the worst thing I could ever imagine. Like I said, I would never do these things, but it's inevitable when you bring this stuff into your life and in your head, you act out. That's just, you are you start to accumulate. If you accumulate good things, you do good things. But if you start accumulating a lot of bad things come out.
I'm reminded of that Bible verse, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Or things like trees bearing certain fruits in the Bible, just a lot of underlying biblical concepts he's touching on here.
And I vowed I would never tell my wife. I vowed I would never, it was going to be my secret for life. I'm going to my deathbed with this thing. And literally from 1999 all the way to 2010. But what's happening is, slowly but surely, my marriage is separating. You start to, these things, the pornography will always put a brick between the relationship between my wife and I. one lie would turn into another, that would turn into another. And mind you, I went to church. I called myself a Christian. I was this guy who went to church every Sunday and prayed, but I asked forgiveness every time I did it. But I couldn't break it.
I think this is all a very relatable thing for a lot of people, especially nowadays with phones and stuff. And it's certainly something I'm thinking about a lot for my young children as they grow up. I'd love to hear your guys' perspectives on this in the comments below. And okay, next up, Terry talks deeply about his difficult relationship with his father. It gets physical and extremely intense. And, well, I don't want to spoil things, but this is all necessary background to understand the amazing testimony he shares to a massive church at the end of the video.
You talk about the day where you get in an altercation and there's extreme violence. I mean, violence shows up there, but you also see it throughout your story. And the other key moment that really stayed in my mind, and it was a very graphic scene, is when I believe you're on the way to dinner with your wife and you get a phone call saying that Big Terry, your father, has punched your mother again and her tooth is turned in her mouth.
Yep.
Tell me about that phone call.
So I came back home for Christmas, and we call it the Christmas from Hell. And so we were there, and we're going out to dinner with some friends, and Detroit is about 45 minutes from Flint. And we were driving to Detroit with me and my wife to go see our friends. And we get a call. We're literally 10 minutes into the ride. And I get a call from my aunt. She's like, oh my God, your father hit your mother. And I'm like, what? He was drinking. It's somehow the holidays brings out the alcohol. Everybody wants to drink on the alcohol. It's really triggering for alcoholics. And I said, did my kids see it? She said, yes, Terry. They saw it. They were right
Your
there.
kids saw it?
My kids were there.
How old were you?
Oh, I was, I just started, so I was about 31, 32 years old. And yeah, man, I couldn't believe it because I told them, I said, man, my kids have never come up in this. They've never seen this, and I have 3 daughters at the time, and I have 5 now. But I couldn't believe it. And they were just shocked. They had never been in that. And all I remember is just the feeling of surreal terror. You know what I mean? Like, this big man is beating my mother up. What do? I don't know. And then they were in there like, oh, why is he doing this? Like, they never seen it. And I said, damn it. Man, I did a U-turn. I said, listen, take the kids, take them over your house. Make sure it's just me and Big Terry in that house. Understand? Make sure of it. She got the kids out, the whole thing. Dude, I roll up in that house. I said, hey, man, didn't I tell you? He said, oh, man, shut up, man. Get out my face. Pow! Hit him dead in his mouth. And there it was. I was like, man, all those times you beat my mother up, all those times I was running around 5 years old, scared, couldn't do nothing, froze up. I'm bigger than your ass now, huh? How you like that? Pow, pow. He's screaming at me to stop. He's bleeding. He's screaming, and I'm just wailing on him, man. And I'm like, no, how you like that? This is how she felt.
And you're crying while you're doing this.
I beat his ass. And I'm in tears. But listen to me, man. It was nothing. It was empty. Like, nothing. I thought, there it is. I got revenge. Revenge is complete. And it was hollow. It was like an empty box. It's like a big box with a giant bow on it. What now? I was like, you just beat up your dad. Big deal. It didn't settle the score, didn't change him, didn't fix my mother's tooth, didn't do anything. My mother moved right back in. I was like, what the hell? And so I didn't come back home for 10 years after that. I was like, I remember just being shocked, like, this was supposed to be so good. This was supposed to be so sweet. It was nothing. It didn't work.
So sorry for all the dark subject matter, but I mean, These are the real issues he's facing, partially happening because of his Hollywood life, partially happening because of his upbringing, and trust me, there's so much more to this man's life that I'll have to do another video on him. But this is everything he's facing, even as a Christian. Sometimes we think having faith or having a relationship with God is all sunshine and rainbows, and the reality is that it's just not. It's oftentimes even harder than not having faith at all because you get so much friction with the world and culture. You go through so many challenges and tests. But, and as we'll see here in a moment, Terry's here to remind you that God is always with you and that we are new creation.
Amen.